Good evening, everybody. November 10th, 2021. Quite an interesting day on Bitcoin here. We have certainly at this point removed the blue count, which, as you know, I was not really quite convinced of anyway because of how ugly this action was down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And the box that I had on there that was associated with that. So we are clearly now in this red path. And you know what, I'm going to make it blue now to match the blue channel. Probably should have done that in the first place. Anyway, so we're in this path here, doing a diagonal upwards. So as I've explained in the past, you know, at first I was kind of looking at this being a channel maybe, and then we kind of broke it, and then we went well above it. And that's one of the complications that happens with diagonals. They're so convoluted and choppy in their action that it's hard to determine exactly when each wave sort of begins and ends, right? So, but now that we have this here, you know, this is clearly, it's an ABC with an A, an ABC with an B, an ABC with an C. That made up our one rather than this being the one, which is the original thought. But now that being said, and this action here kind of confirming this channel by getting, you know, this spike down to the bottom of that channel, I think we can be a bit more confident that this is in fact the correct path. Now there is a potential bearish path I'll go over as well, but let's just take a quick look at what happened today. Obviously we had this stop hunt upwards here, kind of an A, a high B, and then we got a nice big low C there. So right now we are dealing with a three-wave move, which is corrective, meaning we should then begin our path upwards again to 5. So that is my primary scenario, is certainly still that we are going to see a new high. That's you know, confirmed again by the fact that we broke our all-time high here as well. You know, it doesn't really make sense like for this to just crash and die, although it is possible. I think, you know, we're in a bull market and benefit of the doubt needs to go to the bulls. So let's just talk about that path for now before I get into the bearish scenario. If in fact we do make our new high here in 5, it's basically just got to go to the top of the channel somewhere. Where exactly that's going to happen is kind of hard to say. Within a channel structure, within a diagonal structure, it's hard to say exactly how high that goes. Let me draw a fib extension here and just see if that gives us anything. 3 went to about the 1, 2, 3, 6. I think I would expect, you know what, let's do a fib extension from here just for 3 and 4. I would expect us to go about to the 1-0. You know, maybe 5 is not quite as big as 3. It could be though. Just as a preliminary idea of where we might go, let's look between the 764 at 69,000 and the 1.236 at 73. I think anywhere in there would be a decent place to expect a top, but obviously this is kind of dependent on time. So I'll leave that red box on there for now just to keep a, you know, an idea of where this may be topping out. So however long it takes to get up there, it could strike anywhere in there. Once it strikes the top of that trend line, because this is a diagonal, the expectation is going to be that we then correct downwards again from there. This does not bode necessarily too well for the long-term prospects. Let me zoom out here, see if I can get anything off of the daily chart. So this, you know, had a large extension on the 1, but it was 5 waves, and there was 2. So really what I was looking for was an impulse to start off of here. I suppose an impulse could be started off by a diagonal, you know, if we get up here and then do a three-wave pullback. back down into this 60K region or something. I suppose we could still go impulsively up, but I am worried that this is a diagonal. I mean, after we had an impulse up, we really should be starting off the third wave with a strong impulse, and we are not. So just keep that in mind for the long term. We'll have to keep monitoring it. I really, at this point in time, I can't give you a definite on where we're going to go. The scenarios were kind of like, maybe we just stay within this larger diagonal, which could see us, basically chop up and down in this area between like 90 and 70 for a while, and then eventually get up here maybe into the hundreds, 130s. But that did, if that's the case, that takes off the higher targets off the table, which we were looking at, which we were thinking might be like 170 to 200. Because this is going diagonally, that may be off the table. But let's not count our chickens before they hatch. So just know that I'm a little bit wary because of this being a diagonal here starting the third, that we may not get those higher targets. But in any case, I think we're still getting at least that 100K region that we wanted to see. Okay. Anyway, I think that sums up the bull scenario here. So expectation is somewhere in the 70K range, and then a pullback from there. And because this is diagonal, the pullback can be severe. Let's just assume for a moment that we go to right here, like let's just call it 72K. If we go up to 72K in wave 5, we could see a pullback come down as deep as the 886, which is back down to 59K. To be perfectly honest, and that would still technically be, semi-okay as a 1 and 2 in a diagonal fashion, and it kind of lines up maybe with this lower trend line down here that I was looking at. That's that larger diagonal. Maybe we go all the way down there. I don't know. Obviously, the most bullish scenario would be if we just did a shallow pullback, maybe to around 66 or even 64. That would be a better scenario for this to potentially continue on impulsively, even though we have a diagonal here. But again, that's kind of conjecture at this point. But the point I wanted to make there is that once we get into this red box, we need to expect another dump. So it, to me, looks like this is going to continue being quite choppy and treacherous. And from that 72K region, we can certainly drop back down into the low 60s without breaking anything at all in the structure. So be ready for that and be wary of it. All right, bear scenario time. Let's talk real quick here. 3-wave moves are corrective, and the problem with this being a diagonal rather than an impulse is that it's not completely clear at this point if this is in fact going to go up to do a 5. That's what we hope, and that's what we're going to give the bulls the benefit of the doubt to do. But this could simply be an A, B, C. And if that's the case, if we fail to make a 5th wave here, then we can go back into the scenario we were talking about previously, which is maybe this resets itself and does a double bottom here at 58K. So that's certainly possible to do that without making a new high first. And maybe that's the more bullish scenario, because then we can actually try again basically and just kind of reset things and actually get an impulse off of that region there. It's sort of, obviously that's bearish in the short term, but may actually be more bullish in the long term. Not exactly sure at the moment which one would be preferable, but basically if we break down below this trend line in any substantial fashion, I'm going to expect to see a pullback at a minimum down to that 57.8K region. So, and this would then be instead of 2 ending here after a simple ABC down, 2 will then get reset over here, and it'll be more complex, A with a high B over here and then a C down, which could potentially go a little bit lower to take stops out as well. But it's still, even in this bearish scenario, I still don't really see it being super bearish, meaning, you know, if we do drop below that 58K region, I would view that as a buying opportunity. Let's just get a quick fib extension on that and see where that box would be. So potentially, okay, that the normal action would take us back here. So again, the bottom of that would be 58K. So perhaps we don't go lower, but we could certainly see it come into this region here. Oops, I don't want to update right now, thanks. So there's the green box between the 618 and the 1236 fib extension from here to here. If that's a high B and we break the channel, we can find support anywhere in that box. Now, you'll notice that the top of this box is actually, we actually struck it already. So that doesn't really help us in any case, but I would expect if we break down the channel, I would expect us to, at a minimum, go to 59 and potentially all the way down to that 58K region. So realistically, even though this green box is this whole region, this is kind of the region I would be focused on if we break the channel. Until we break that channel though, my expectation is that we will make one more high and then we'll deal with a pullback after that. So I think that pretty much sums up all of the various scenarios that could happen at this point in time. And we'll see where we go from here. So I'm sorry that I was right about this action just being a shit show. I didn't want to be right, but you know, this sort of crap, you don't want to see this. If we're starting off the third wave and we're supposed to be going bullish, like, we really did not want to see that, and that's been proven here. You know, even though we had a pump, this vicious dump here was exactly what I was worried about and talking about in the past few weeks here, I guess, since we didn't get an impulse off the lows. All right, I think that's all I could possibly want to talk about at the moment. So I will see you all tomorrow, and I don't even know what to hope for. I don't know if I hope that it goes up or comes down, but you know, whatever it does, we should be mentally prepared for it at this point in time. All right, good night, everybody.